Yeshua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, Jesus the Messiah of Nazareth, is our Messiah, was appointed as a high priest for us so that he can make atonement for us. And he earned that position through obedience and suffering. That is not something we have done or can do, to be honest. We can obey him, and we can obey God and obey the laws of living, right? But Jesus was specifically anointed and suited for that role, to be our high priest and king at the same time. So he was declared by God from the creation to fulfill that role. So I personally, once I die, cannot resurrect myself. So this is why we needed a mediator for atonement unto resurrection into eternal life. Jesus fulfills that spot because God anointed him, ordained him, prophesied him, cultivated him, prospered him to be in that spot, to make that a reality for us. So when God says statements like this, that if we obey him, that we may live forever in a land that was promised forever to us and all those who believe and obey, all the way back down to Adam, this is not saying that you can earn your salvation. Because remember, within the instructions for living, within the Torah, within the commandments of God, were instructions for a priesthood. What is a priesthood for? That was for mediation between mankind and God. Inherently included in that concept is the idea that you're going to mess up and not obey him perfectly, i.e. you're going to transgress his instructions and sin, which means you need mediation, you need atonement. So from the beginning, God already knows that you cannot, do this just willy-nilly. It's not the easiest thing in the world for you to do, to live perfectly. He instructs us to strive after that, right? To be as Christ was, to strive after that perfection of the law and do it with all, and be righteous and do it with all of our heart. And there are several people in the Bible who really did attain that. But guess what? They were not ordained as Christ was. They were not specifically given that role to be the mediator in the priesthood so that he could create the resurrection for us. So that's why he alone is our salvation. He alone is our high priest and mediator before the Father. He alone redeems our souls from Sheol and brings us into eternal life in the land of his Father's house. We cannot do that for ourselves, but we are commissioned, we are instructed, and we can walk out his commandments in righteousness through obedience. It's called circumcising our own heart. So I just wanted to make that distinction, okay, guys? This is not saying that you can earn your own salvation, because people take that term out of context, away from the priesthood of Jesus, away from the idea of obeying God, and they completely malign the whole idea. You can earn your resurrection, but you can't resurrect yourself. Only Jesus can resurrect you. So God says that you can obey him. Deuteronomy verse 30, verses 4 and 5 says it's not too hard to obey him. These things are not out of our reach, not of our grasp. The instructions that he gave us are not burdensome to obey, right? That it's possible for us to do this. But we cannot resurrect ourselves. We're still going to die. We're still going to be in Sheol. We're still going to need to be redeemed. That we cannot do for ourselves. But we can qualify ourselves to be resurrected. We just can't resurrect ourselves. That's why Jesus says, to him who overcomes, I will give him the right to sit with me on my Father's throne, right? So that means he, as high priest, he's given all authority in heaven and earth to resurrect us, because that's his role. He can do that, okay? So that's how we can continue to say that I will faithfully obey God's instructions for living, because they will lead me to eternal life. But yet at the same time, I cannot provide eternal life for myself. I need the mediation of Yeshua, our Messiah.